Good evening, Baltimore. This is Matt Weyrich alongside Josh Tolentino, and welcome in to an emergency episode of the Early Birds podcast, where we are sitting here at Camden Yards after the Orioles have just beaten the Minnesota Twins 2-1 to move to 1-0 on the season. Josh, sold out crowd, orange carpet, all the works. What were just kind of your impressions of the day?
Man, the opening day festivities truly hit the spot, man. And you look at the performers from today's game. Who would have thought number 9 hitter Blaze Alexander with the go-ahead RBI, and the bona fide closer Ryan Helsley shuts it down. 2 new faces for this Orioles team, and while the offense was sparse and they're still getting going in what Blaze's own words were. Man, so much excitement coming from opening day, especially getting those contributions from a pair of key offseason additions.
Yeah, offense took a while to build up. Couldn't get to starter Joe Ryan there for most of the game, but does come through in the 7th. Samuel Basallo goes single, first to third on a Tyler O'Neill hit, who did not home run, extending his streak there. It comes to an end at 6, but then he scores on a Colton Cowser sacrifice fly, and Blaze Alexander, as you mentioned, tacks on the extra run, which was much needed as Tyler Wells gave up a run that maybe should have been unearned. Taylor Ward misplayed a ball in the corner that allowed Byron Buxton to motor all the way around for a triple. And then Ryan Helsley, as you said, comes in, wipe out stuff right off the bat, gets 2 quick outs, does put a guy on, but pretty much drama-free as it gets from there. So Orioles are 1-0, but really, this whole game, it comes down to the performance of Trevor Rogers, who went 7 scoreless, 4 walks on the day, was battling himself a little bit throughout the game, but ultimately was able to make pitches when it counted and get some help from the defense.
Yeah, this defense, you bring it up, man. I think we have to give a huge shout out to Kobe Mayo, who's gone through a roller coaster of emotions, positional turnover, whatever you want to call it, over these past couple of years. He gets moved from third to first, where he works diligently all throughout last season. And then today, Matt, you and I were here 4.5 hours before the game, and guess who's one of the first players on the field? It is Kobe Mayo, working hard with infield coach Miguel Cairo. It ends up paying off as he helps produce 2 double play ground outs. Man, the turns from Blaze Alexander to Pete Alonso, it juiced up not only this dugout, but this crowd here, especially on a day like today when the offense is tough to come by. Kobe Mayo getting it done with his glove. And that's what you want to see, not just the routine plays, but the tough ones. And this type of environment, man, he really got this crowd going with his defense.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of creeping exasperation early on in the game. I mean, it was something we had seen all too much last year with the offense, just unable to get to the starting pitcher, unable to string together rallies, hit with runners in scoring position. But finally, they do break through there, and it really was enabled by that defense. As you mentioned, 2 huge double plays turned by Kobe Mayo. And Trevor Rogers, man, wasn't his best stuff, clearly. Came out throwing a ton of velo, hitting 96 in the first inning, and then it kind of tapered off from there. And, kind of fighting himself, having to work with a lot of traffic on the base pass. But ultimately, when he had to make a pitch, he did. And that's really what we saw from Trevor Rogers last year, and what maybe had made the skepticism so prevalent with him of, like, can he produce this? Can he carry it over into 2026? Because there was so often these moments where Trevor Rogers had to make that pitch. And ultimately he showed that he still got that in him. And, maybe it is something that can carry over into this season.
Baseball is such a great game, man. Doesn't matter how you get them out. 7 scoreless, a lot of zeros. And for him to hand it to the bullpen, man, let's transition there. Tyler Wells, he steps into a high leverage spot there with the 2-run lead. You mentioned Byron Buxton. Man, he's sneaky fast at his age, man. Got from, first to third as Taylor Ward. I think that's going to get some, it's going to take some getting used to, not just for Taylor Ward, but whoever else is patrolling this outfield as all these changes come to Camden Yards, and this roster just gets used to playing at home. They've got the rain off day, which actually it is going to rain today, Friday. And they'll finish off.
We're looking at the tarp getting put down right now, so it's coming.
The tarp just fresh off there. They'll get 2 more games this weekend against the Twins, and man, excited to see Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz take the ball. But man, Ryan Helsley, I'm looking forward to his next second save opportunity because he certainly got the job done today, and just concentrating on that bullpen. Man, you see Andrew Kittredge today among a handful of players packing their bags for some stints with AAA Norfolk. So while they go down there, Ryan Helsley and company are going to try to get the job done with the big league club.
Yeah, I mean, to see Tyler Wells in that setup man role right off the bat shows a lot of confidence in him as a guy who is transitioning to a full-time, high-leverage reliever for the first time in his career. Now, it is worth pointing out that he was warming up when the game was 0-0, so it seemed like the eighth inning was going to be his regardless. But whether it's a two-run lead, a one-run lead, or a 0-0 game, you're pretty much going with your A bullpen up until the ninth inning. You're saving your closer for save situations. So I think it says a lot that they had Tyler Wells there. And, like I said, maybe a little bit unlucky there with Ward, who is going to have to get used to that left field corner. Wasn't around for the exhibition game here the other day. So his first time playing, with the Orioles in that left field was in the workout heading into opening day on Wednesday, and now is going to have to learn kind of those caroms and everything back there as he gets more and more comfortable here in left field.
Yeah, and Taylor Ward, before first pitch, we asked him about, do you feel, as a new face here, do you feel any of that pressure? And basically says Craig Albernaz's role in his messaging towards the team is you have to remove that every single day. And you look at Albie, even when the score is tight here, his message to Blaze Alexander before his go-ahead RBI, go effing get him. And that's just the vibe that Craig Albernaz has with this clubhouse. And Tyler O'Neill, who, was an oft-criticized subject last year given his injuries and just his lack of availability. Today, even despite his error, he says this is a different type of vibe with this clubhouse. He points out Pete Alonso's leadership. Check out Matt's story on the Baltimore Sun, given all the leadership presence that Pete has brought this club in recent months. And man, you just, the result could have gone either way, but with how Craig Albernaz managed this game, not just, literally with the lineup and his bullpen decisions, but, his messaging in the dugout, I think that is important, given all the turmoil this team experienced last season. And man, Craig Albernaz, one more point on that. You asked about like how I took an opening day. I actually was watching Craig right there at second base with Derek with Shelty, the Twins manager, during the national anthem. He said he was most looking forward to hearing the O in the national anthem when that O came, and it was a loud one, man. Shout out to all the fans in attendance at Camden Yards. He literally had to shake off the goosebumps or whatever he was feeling in his body. We'll have to ask him about that the next time we get a chance. So he took it all in, and he said, it wouldn't be opening day without those nerves.
No, certainly. And, gets a celebratory beer shower thrown into the laundry cart, tossed into the showers by his players. So apparently they held off from throwing the ketchup and mustard on him.
Tyler Wells, by the way, he was the one who was initiated that.
Yep. So certainly the team celebrating some first. And I did want to take a look at the lineup here as we got our first look at a Craig Albernaz lineup. And maybe a surprise, Taylor Ward got to start at leadoff against a right-handed pitcher. We have talked a lot about lineups, and neither of us had Ward in against right-handers. So maybe that is something that we are going to see more often, not just against lefties, which we did expect. But Ward was at leadoff with Gunnar Henderson at the number 2 spot, Pete Alonso batting third behind him, Adley Rutschman in cleanup at catcher, Samuel Basayo, DH, batting 5th, Tyler O'Neill 6th in right field, Colton Cowser center field 7th, Kobe Mayo 8th at third base, and Blaze Alexander rounding things out in the number 9 spot. And looking at Gunnar Henderson here, I think the idea with Taylor Ward, and credit to my colleague Jake Kaltenmeyer, who we were talking about this before the game, is when you have Taylor Ward in front of him, Pete Alonso, Adley Rutschman behind him, and Blaze Alexander in the 9th spot, you've got 2 righties in front of you, 2 righties behind you. It is all but eliminating most chances where they're going to bring in a left-handed pitcher because Gunnar Henderson is there. You have to plan for all of those righties around him. And of course, the Twins did bring in a left-handed pitcher against Gunnar Henderson today, and he grounded out in that at bat. But with how big of splits he's had in his career versus lefties and righties, being able to put him in a position where he's going to face right-handed pitchers as much as possible considering he is your best player, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Craig Albernaz coming to Baltimore is there's really no track record of what, the tells of his lineup making and, the role that Mike Elias plays in that. Mike Elias, he strolled through the celebratory home clubhouse, and, Andy Costa and I from the banner, we were joking with him, no beer shower for you. And he said he was headed for his steak dinner. So, man, Mike Elias, he certainly made a handful of moves throughout this offseason, and he brings in his guy in Craig Albernaz to solve the problem that is creating the lineup every day. We'll see when they face their first lefty. Probably not this weekend, but just that's the beauty of it all. The puzzle pieces, putting it all together for first year manager Craig Albernaz.
Absolutely, and that bottom of the lineup really was what orchestrated that rally too. With going from the number 5 spot, Pasayo, working all the way down to number 9 to orchestrate those 2 runs. So certainly the way those guys were lined up ended up paying off as well. And did want to spotlight the performance of Adley Rutschman, who finished 2 for 4 with 1 hit from each side of the plate, including a double down the left field line. Certainly an encouraging performance for Rutschman, who is obviously not coming off of the best season of his career, trying to get back to the Adley Rutschman of old.
The important first hit of the game. No one wants to go,
fourth inning too,
4+ innings without getting a knock against a quality pitcher in Joe Ryan, who Craig Albernaz has plenty of experience with, dating back to their time with the Rays. He knew this was going to be a challenge, and he's got if there was anyone in this dugout who had the intel on Joe Ryan, it was Craig Albernaz, who had to manage Joe Ryan's fast rise as a minor league field coordinator in 2019. That season, Joe Ryan, he climbed 3 levels. So he's got all the intel on Joe Ryan, and he was able to use that with his lineup today. Again, the offense, not fireworks here on day one, but as expected, a low-scoring game between 2 aces. Man, Trevor Rogers, and I wrote this in the Baltimore Sun in a column. They might have not landed an external ace, but man, he's looking the part of an ace when you consider all the quality stuff that he put together last season, and now it's transitioned here day one on a day when it's not perfect. Man, battling and just continuing to chew through adversity. And there's so many emotions involved in today. So to see him get through unscathed, runners in scoring position, I think it was 1 for 11. Man, that you gotta take those wins, especially here early on.
Yeah, and certainly setting the tone now for the rest of the series, for the rest of the Orioles starters, who will go with Kyle Bradish opposite Taj Bradley on Saturday. And then Sunday, Bailey Ober will take on the Orioles' Shane Baz in his Baltimore debut. So the Orioles will look to secure a series win on Saturday after the off day Friday. But Josh, any final words for the good people?
Man, it was a beautiful opening day. The orange carpet. There's really not much else to say, man. We're the last ones here. We're enjoying a sunset here off the warehouse, man. Excited that baseball is back. Hopefully not too much rain here early on, and plenty to follow along on Early Birds on Baltimore Sun. Excited to bring it all to you guys.
Yeah, we did get to see the unveiling of the new scoreboard, which was awesome. Standing ovation for Pete Alonso as he tipped his cap. So some cool moments.
Hopefully no more 6-hour early arrivals, man.
Yeah, we've been out here since 9 a.m. and it's almost 7 now. So been a long day for sure.
12-hour work day.
That's opening day for you. We'll see how things settle in here, starting with Game 2 on Saturday. For Josh Tolentino, I'm Matt Weyrich. Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. And give us a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a good one.